Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being with us. Jason is engineering the broadcast right here at GCN, Genesis Communications Network. I'm Vincent Finelli. If you'd like to give us a call, 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line, well, there is one that's running live. So you can't listen whenever you want. If you want to listen to USA Prepares, you have to listen when we're live. 712-770-9418. 712-770-9418. And that's from Global Star Communications. So 9 through 11 a.m. Central Time, you can listen to USA Prepares. I want to thank Global Star for putting us on the satellite. They have decided that they like us enough where they will pick us up and put us on the satellite. I really appreciate that. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith Isaacs.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
Well, that's not the question. The question is, how are you? Because I looked at a map of Australia, and almost the entire perimeter is on fire. Literally, no exaggeration, with fires going on in other parts of Australia. It's smoky and it's on fire. How are you, Guineith Isaacs?
We're not on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. We're in central Victoria. So, I won't give our location, but we're nowhere near the coast. We're about 200 or 300 kilometres inland from the coast in every direction. In fact, in some directions, a lot more than 300 kilometres. So there's no bushfires in this immediate area. And I don't think there's going to be, because, there's been rumours on the internet of these bushfires being, deliberately lit by people who want to drive people out of these areas. And I think there's something to these rumours. And the fact that we live in the middle of nowhere, nobody's interested in the real estate that's around here for putting things like railway lines through, high-speed railway lines and that sort of thing in this area. I don't think that there's going to be massive fires here, because I think that these fires are deliberately lit. I think the whole campfire thing is, it's possible, but it's not probable, because, they said, we got 187 guys that we arrested for lighting fires. I would like to see their name. I would like to know their court date, and I would like to even go and see them getting tried. And I don't think that you're going to hear anything about their names, their court dates, and who they are, because I think that the whole reason why these fires even started in the first place is a lot more complicated than anybody with any so-called authority wants to let on. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Wow. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Yesterday, I was forwarded a hit piece on Dane Wigington. Now, Dane Wigington, I just want to make sure the class understands. I consider Dane Wigington a senior USA Prepares instructor. Dane Wigington has made presentations to our meetup group for, over the years. He has been on the air with us over the years. We talked to each other on the telephone at length. And I was livid because I was going to be on John Stadtmiller's broadcast last night. And I was. And forwarded to me from John Stadtmiller was this hit piece on Dane Wigington, alleging that he's not who we think he is. And I called Dane up and I said, I left him a message and he called me right back. And I said that I was going to be on this broadcast, and I was livid because he was being attacked. I was furious. And, there are allegations that Dane Wigington has lots of money. And he has a complement of lawyers at his disposal. And what people don't realize, there's another one of those chemtrails flying over our farm. What people don't realize is that he funded it himself in the first 5 years. Kind of like USA Prepares, where we're a bunch of volunteers and nobody gets paid. Well, he funded it, and he's being attacked. He has lawyers working pro bono, and he's being attacked. And anyone who doesn't realize that the climate is violently changing is a moron. Either that or they're living somewhere where it's climate controlled. No change. But for the rest of us who are looking out and around, we see that they're wild temperature swings. There's ice when there shouldn't be. There's snow when there shouldn't be. There's no snow when there should be. Things like that. Trees are dying, grass is dying, massive droughts, then flooding. So I talked to Dane about exactly what's happening in Australia last night. He said the most remarkable thing. Kind of like what you just said, Guineith. He said that the fires have most likely been set intentionally to do the dumbest of short-term things. And that would be to release smoke particulates into the air to block the sun's rays, to keep the planet cooler for a very, very short time until the smoke dissipates. That sounds absolutely fantastic, outside of anyone's belief, couldn't possibly be true, but you know what? There's a lot of sense to it. And I'm not saying I think it's unbelievable. I think it is believable. I think that the fires, many of them, maybe not all of them, were intentionally set. And when you combine that dot with what you just said, Guineith, you're there, you're in Australia, it makes sense. And the people who set these fires, and by the way, David, a USA Prepares instructor, called in last night to Republic Broadcasting, and he commented on how the people who would do these, to orchestrate these kinds of things. I'm not talking about the guys who have the matches. I'm talking about the guys who think this up and say, oh, here's a great idea. Here's what we'll do. We'll set Australia on fire. The guys who think this thing up, or like this, have unlimited funding to remediate. So while you would never do that, I would never do that, and most everyone else would never do these kinds of things, the people that do them want to take the property, want to make changes, blame it on something else, and then later on benefit from it. So what is the benefit? Well, heck, if you want to get people out of the coastline of Australia, you just set it on fire. And if they don't get the message the first time, when it grows back, you set it on fire again. So I really think that... What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to this. Now, I see on the call screen, we had a call and the caller hung up. Let me tell you about calling into USA Prepares. Let me tell you a little bit of protocol. Just as a little side trip, I have a call screen that shows here in Missouri at the farm all the call lines that are tied to USA Prepares. I can see when a call comes in. I can see how long it's been ringing. I can see when it's automatically answered. And then you're put on hold automatically by a machine. And then the engineer will come over and answer the phone. But the engineer is running multiple broadcasts. So that means that the engineer is not always sitting in front of the call screen anxiously awaiting a call. So if you decide to call, and if you want to be on the air, you'll need to let it ring and ring and ring and ring and ring until our engineer answers the phone. Now I can pick up the call right here from the farm, but I have no idea who it is. And it may be somebody calling for another broadcast. So I tend not to do that. So if you want to be on the air, just let it ring. It'll get answered and stay on hold. I see you. And as soon as the engineer comes over and jumps into Studio 3, he will answer the phone. So, Guineith, that was what Dane Wigington mentioned to me last night. And it makes a lot of sense when you consider how some people have no morals, no values, no scruples, and will do anything just because they feel like it.
Yep, that's about the sum of it. And the thing is that these people want to think that they rule us. These people want to think that they actually have authority over us. Anybody who thinks that these sorts of people ought to tell them to do absolutely anything has got rocks in their head. They need to wake up and smell the coffee and start thinking about themselves and let go of a lot of, to be perfectly honest, religious indoctrination, whether they're religious people or not. That they have been indoctrinated by somebody, whether it's through the church or whether it's through the school system. I don't think it really matters. But, they need to let go of that religious dogma that says that, that is justified for evil people to tell good people what to do. Does that make sense, Vincent? No evil person ought to ever be telling a good person what to do, and no good person ever ought to be receiving such instruction. Because, here's something that's just occurred to me as I'm sitting here. The Nuremberg precedent of the World War II war crime trial, the Nazi war criminals tried to claim that they were just obeying orders. And that's the reason why they sent people to the death chambers and tortured them and lined them up and shot them and all the rest of it. They tried to claim that what they were doing was okay because they were only obeying orders. And you know something? There was an absolutely historical international law precedent was set at that time, and that is to say that to claim that you are only following orders is not a legitimate defense.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Guineith Isaacs is with us. Class, we're the only broadcast that I know of that has a regularly occurring correspondent from Australia, 2 hours a week for years. And that is Guineith Isaacs. And she is a degreed scientist. For those of you who are new to the class, Guineith lives on a farm. And she lives in a mud brick farmhouse. She generates her own electricity with her solar system. She does everything the hard way. She grows her vegetables, and she's a farmer and a degreed scientist. And she pays attention to what's happening. She looks up, down, looks all around, and shares with us what she sees. And Guineith, you mentioned, and she's an author. If you want to find out more about her, you can go to Amazon, and you can type Guineith Isaacs, Guineith, last name Isaacs, Guineith Isaacs. if we continue this thought about the Nuremberg trials and the war criminals were using the defense just following orders, and that defense did not hold up, and those war criminals were executed, what about other people who say the same thing? Kind of like, well, it's policy. It's policy that if it looks like he's got a gun, even though it might be a cell phone, and I'm afraid I can kill him. That's what other people say that have uniforms. They say, well, I thought he had a gun. Right? Isn't that what they say? I was in fear for my life, so I killed him.
Does that mean that, actually it does. If I get trespassers on my lands and I think that they have guns, that and I fear for my safety that I'm entitled to kill them, actually it does. If people come around here and they are armed and they think that they can do whatever they want to me, I might have to call the police afterwards and get them to take the bodies away.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. I met a guy. He had an item for sale on the internet locally here. And my son and I made the, let's say, 100-mile round trip to go look at it. And he had a long driveway, kind of like what we have. And there was a sign that you could see when you got close to his house. And it said, I have a gun and a backhoe. And I had to chuckle. I looked at it, kind of like Columbo. I was, embellishing a little bit with my emotions and actions. I kind of looked at it, pointed at it, tilted my head, and I started laughing. And I said, I'm with you. I'm in the same place. I got a backhoe too. And what he was saying is, if you come over here and you steal something, there might be one sound, one discharge that's heard, and then the roar of the backhoe, and that will be the last anyone will have seen you. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So,
that's
so yeah, let's continue this. Let's continue this by extension. Yeah. And I was thinking about this morning, and I thought you might want to talk about this. So there have been reports in the United States, in a little west of Missouri, that there are these formations of 5-foot to 6-foot wingspan drones flying around, a whole bunch of them. And you'll see one coming over the horizon, and another one, a whole bunch of them. So now that we have close to a war going on, because a general was killed, blown up by the United States, allegedly. And then there's retaliation, and I know that military bases are on extreme heightened security. I know that it's very difficult to get into them because I've received correspondence to that effect, and I've also read that in the news. Well, what if you see a drone flying over, over the trees, and then it's coming toward your house? What do you do? Now, let's talk about that with Guineith. I have some thoughts. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia, and so by extension of the defense, just following orders from the Nuremberg trials. What about these drones? Okay, so even the small ones, it could be innocuous as your neighbor taking a test flight over, with his drone from his Christmas present, I really want to see what this is like, Daddy or Mommy. And, or it could be that peeping Tom that's a couple blocks over who wants to look into your bedroom and bathroom windows or fly over your backyard when you're, the ladies in your house are, sunbathing. Or it could be an act of terrorism. what would you do? Would you think as a trained LEO, law enforcement officer, and be in fear for your life and then just shoot that thing out of the sky? Or would you say, nah, it's just Charlie, he's a peeping Tom, and, what are you going to do? Or would you say, well, it's Billy, and he's got that for Christmas, and he's just going to take it for a test drive, and maybe he won't fly it into a tree. So, Guineith, what are your thoughts about this? If where I live, I would consider a drone flying over our farm as a threat. There's no reason for anybody to be flying a drone over our farm. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would tend to agree. I would say that unless it's like my own son's drone, that if it's flying on our land, it's got no reason to be there. And I don't have firearms. If I did have firearms, I'd be shooting it. I would get my other favourite projectile firing device, and I'd be trying to hit it with projectiles. I'd be trying to knock it out of the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on Friday class, Kyle and I will be talking about some tips for hour number 1, and it's tips from the book, hour number 2. And if you decide that you have an idea for what would you do, what would be the best tool to take one of these things down if you were in fear for your life. I'm not just saying just target practice, because it seems like the government corporation doesn't want you to plink at these things. But if I were in fear for my life, I would have absolutely no reservation pulling out a tool and trying to take that thing down, because I don't know what it is. And there's no reason why anybody should have one of those things flying over my property. None. I would consider it a threat. I don't know if it has an aerosol. I don't know if it has an explosive. I don't know if it has a gas. I don't know. And I would consider it a threat if one of those things were hovering near me. So on Friday, if one of you has experience with, skeet shooting, shooting birds, let us know what a good tool to go hunting with would be. I see we have a call, so just hang in there, and our engineer will be answering your call in a short amount of time. But I don't know what that amount of time is. So just let it ring. I know you can hear me, and we'll answer or I'll pick up as soon as the engineer does. Guineith, you have sent me an email about applying for a job. And I have a feeling that you are finding it as difficult as I would if I were applying for a job. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, it seems like, I have to apply for work because of certain government contracts that I have signed up to. So the government supplies me with money, and in return I agree to go out and look for work. And I had to do that because I was going broke, and we were just about starving here. And I'd been doing everything that I could to try and get income in the door, and nothing was working. And so it was a matter of last resort. But the thing is, every time I apply for a job, I think, I'm perfectly qualified for this job. I'm going to put in an application for it. And that's how I used to be. Now it's like, I know I'm perfectly qualified for this job, and I'm going to put in an application for it. But, I probably won't get it. And I'll tell you why I probably won't get it. Probably they're going to receive the application. They're going to go, wow, this lady, oh, my gosh, this application that we've got. And by the way, every time I do an application, I do include my nom-de-plume, and I include my real name. And the reason why I do that is for this reason, okay? I don't want for any employer to hire me and go through all that trouble, get my hopes up, and then later on he finds out about my radio work and gives me the sack. Okay? If he's one of the lefty loon variety of humans, which it seems that most employers around here are actually, I think that what's happening, and I mean, if anyone has received a job application from me and they say, no, that's not how it went down. There was just a more suitable applicant. I'm prepared to go, yeah, fine. I'm glad you got a more suitable applicant. But I think that what it is that, that employers are seeing me, they're seeing my application, and then they are, doing some background checking into who I am and to who Guineith Isaacs is, and then deciding that my job application needs to go in the round file. And I don't know if the younger members of the class know what the round file is, but it's often made of wicker, sometimes made of wire, and it sits in the corner, and you can use it for basketball practice. If you get bored doing whatever job it is that you need to do, you can roll up bits of paper and you can throw them in the round file. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, we used to call that 86-it. 86-it, the round file, the wastebasket, the trash. Those are all synonyms. Yeah, that's right. But I don't know that many of the younger people even know what a waste paper basket is, because in the modern office there's actually not that much paper. And, well, there's a drug. It's an abortion drug, and it's called RU486.
Yeah,
the letter RU4, the number 486. And that, if you say it as a sentence, R, as in A-R-E, U, Y-O-U, the number 4, F-O-R, 86, RU486, meaning RU4 termination. Okay? That's what the pill's called, RU486. So that means it's when you 86 it, that's it. It's being destroyed. It's going in the dump. It's trash. So yes.
Yeah, that's right. I think that that's what's happening, which is basically it's pretty scary actually, because this is exactly what they were doing to dissidents in 1936, 37, 38, and 39 in Nazi Germany. They were just unable to find work. Or even if you were a Jew back in that time, you would find that, you'd be the perfect applicant for the job, and then people would do a background check on you and they'd find out who you were, and suddenly the job wasn't available anymore. Or that they'd, found a more suitable applicant, is what they say. And, I'm sort of like, well, yeah, whatever. But at the same time, I can see how dangerous this is, that, there may even be people pressuring people not to hire me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, that there just genuinely are a bunch of more skilled writers, broadcasters, commentators. Maybe there's actually a bunch of people out there who are environmental scientists who, are freshly graduated and have been trained by scientists as eminent as Professor Tim Flannery and Professor Victor Prescott and Professor Ian Clymer. And all three of those scientists are household names here in Australia. And, all three of those scientists were my university professors. This is who I took, actually, the majority of my classes in my environmental science degree were with Tim Flannery or Victor Prescott, and both of whom are some of the most eminent scientists out there, So, it's like if you were, if you were a scientist and you'd been trained by Edward Teller and you were a physicist, for instance. How many, I know that there's a few Edward Teller acolytes on the USA Prepares faculty, But I don't know how many of them there are out there in the broad universe. I suspect that there's maybe several dozen in the whole world. And I know that there's two that are on the USA Prepares faculty. They've publicly stated it in the past, so I will mention who they are. They're Dr. Richard Allen Miller and Stan Baio, both acolytes of Edward Teller, who was in charge of the Manhattan Project. Did you know that, Vincent?
Well, I know he was involved in the Manhattan Project. Groves, General Groves, Leslie Groves, was actually the guy in charge for the military, and of course Robert Oppenheimer was one of the leading scientists. But yes, Teller was involved, absolutely, and so was so were some other scientists in the United States. You're right.
Yeah.
By the way, we have David on hold. David will be with you in just a minute.
That's, but the thing is that it seems to me as if I'm getting constantly passed over for work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why. Does that make sense to you?
Well, it does. I mean, I could put on my resume that one of my instructors was Carl Sagan and Frank Zappa of the Mothers of Invention. I mean, but no one's going to hire me. There's no question about it. Let's David, welcome. You're on with Guineith Isaacs.
How you doing?
Hey, thanks for calling in last night. You know, you bring a wealth of firsthand experience to USA Prepares, whether it's calling in when I'm a guest somewhere or whether it's right here on USA Prepares Monday through Friday. Well, shoot. You know, I fly by the audio and not by the clock. I should probably pay more attention to the clock. We're going to, Dave, we're going to a break. Would you please stay with us? And Guineith Isaacs is with us. We're talking. By the way, could you get a job, David? Or are you like the rest of us? Nope. There we go. It's unanimous. Boy, we'd be something if we could ever get a job, huh? We'll be right back. Well, there's three of us here. I can't get a job. Guineith, David, and I. David, you want to talk about drones?
Yeah, I'll make a comment really quick, though. I hope, I do call in the other shows when you're on, but I just hope it's appreciated or wanted.
Absolutely.
I can't tell their,
Absolutely.
I can't tell their attitude as much about it, but, but I just hope it is.
Oh, David, hold on just a second. I want to make sure I understand. You don't know how you're appreciated here at USA Prepares?
No.
Okay, because you really are. Okay, well, I would love to meet you, and hopefully if I go toward Illinois, maybe we can set up a meeting. I really, really appreciate when you call in because, and I was thinking about this last night, and I even told our engineer before the broadcast started. I was telling him how when USA Prepares brings firsthand experience to the radio, people who have done it, and other radio outlets talk about generalities, they talk about politics and things like that, but what the callers to USA Prepares bring, and the instructors, they bring firsthand experience. So here's the topic, and here's what happened with me, to me, those kinds of things. That's where we are so different. And we have the solutions. Here's what the problem is. Here's what happened. Here's what we did. Here's how it worked. So, yes, you are appreciated. And last night I didn't mention who you are because it didn't seem like it seemed like the host was more of in a hurry than I would like to be. I don't like being in a hurry. He wanted to get through a bunch of calls. So I didn't say, I just want to tell you who David is. So I didn't do that. Most of the time I do, but last night I did not. But yes.
His show seems to go so quick for some reason. I don't know.
Okay, here's the difference. We're talking about Republic Broadcasting. So sometimes I'm a co-host filling in for John Statmiller, who owns the network. And John Statmo's been to the farm, and I've been to his house and so forth. And I've been to his network, and I've broadcasted from his chair, his seat in his studio. So we know each other pretty well. Republic Broadcasting takes a lot of calls. We don't take as many calls. They want to get through the calls faster. I want to get through more detailed information. So that's one difference, right? But then again, we don't have, the most calls that we've ever taken was, I think, 31. Steve Elkins and I took 31 calls in 2 hours, which I think was a record, but it was wham, boom, 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 boom. And I don't like doing that. I really don't. I like to have complete thoughts, complete information, and I want people to leave with the knowledge that will help them get started in whatever it is that we were discussing, so they can continue it on in their own lives. But I really appreciate you being on the air. And there is no time when I see a call that says David in Illinois that I would not take the call. It would not happen. You would be on the air.
I would like to mention one thing really quick. When I first started calling your show, I did call a few other shows. Briefly, they wanted me to call back. They were larger shows, but I didn't because of what they said on the screener, and I was shocked. But I started calling your show, and the things we've talked about, and you said people give us heck of what we talk about, but then you see it somewhere else. And one of the last times I was on there, our local channel, news channel, which you would be aware of, you mentioned it before, had exactly what we talked about and went into detail 3 consecutive days in a row. And I'm like, that's what gets it. You get beat up, ridiculed, and then they'll take your information and talk about it.
There's no shortage of people who are willing to take your ideas and take full credit for them, even though they don't have the ability to think through the kinds of things that they steal. I've seen that all my life. I'm not just talking about radio. I'm talking about everything. So, and Rich Sheben will call me. Well, he calls me a lot. And so does Steve Elkins at home. And Rich Sheben has said so many times, I'm thinking like every 2 weeks, hey, Vin, we talked about this, and now it's in the news, a day or two later. So we started, and I really believe that we have people who are listening to us to figure out what they can talk about on their radio shows. And I'm talking about national and, television and radio. And that sounds kind of braggadocious of me to say that, but I'm not the only one saying that. I'm not the only one seeing that. I've even made up terms, and they show up. Made up terms in other media. You want to hold through? And because I know you want to talk about drones. Okay. And so Guineith and I and David can't get a job. I don't think we would be a good fit. We'd be asking a lot of questions, and the supervisors wouldn't have the answers. So we'd want to make it better, and they wouldn't know what to do. So just don't hire us in the first place. I think that's kind of what it's like. And I have a feeling that it's not just the 3 of us. I think it's our entire faculty and class. I think we're all kind of not going the same way as the GDP. We'll be right back after top of the hour news and commercial announcements. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia, and she mentioned that she would be inclined, as I remember it, to shoot a projectile at a drone if she felt that she was threatened by that drone flying over her farm in Australia, if she had a device or a tool to do that, of which she is not allowed to have by the government corporation in Australia. David is with us in Illinois. David, your thoughts about drones?
Yeah, I don't know how, if you researched some of the drones. When you first started finding drones popping up, now these drones were a lot larger, so they're obviously government study drones, test drones on our own soil. And people were noticing them in places like Colorado, Nevada. And they were actually, I remember seeing some statements from counties saying they were going to give bounties for people shooting them down. But it was amazing because the FFA and the government came right out really quick and responded, no, you're not shooting these things down. They wouldn't admit that they were theirs, but by golly, they weren't going to let you do anything to them. And they kind of, in my opinion, they kind of told on themselves. You know, but yeah, they were actually, I don't know if you remember that.
Sure. Sure, I do. And I remember a sheriff saying, yeah, you don't want to shoot these things down. So these things are so expensive. I mean, the average John Q. villager is not going to be able to buy a 6-foot wingspan drone. That's not going to happen, especially a whole fleet of them. So it's either somebody very wealthy or a government corporation or a government contract that is funding these things.
Now,
so
when
it's government.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he was at those classified, it's a group of bays, not one base. Everybody tries to say it's one. But he was telling me about the objects that were there. Everybody, it's amazing because when I talk about what was in there, they're like, oh my God, they're UFOs, they're UFOs. No. My opinion is they're unmanned drone testing. They were, researching them there, and he wouldn't tell me exactly what he thought. He told me what they were. He just said, when you see these things flying overhead, he said, I carry a gun all my life for the government. He said, I realize there's not a darn thing I can do when I had to see those things and I had to guard that hangar. And in my opinion was they were drones. I mean, that's just my opinion. But obviously they've been working on them, and some kid ain't gonna get no huge drone.
If you saw one flying over your property, what would you do?
Honestly,
would you feel threatened?
Well, yeah. I've been around in these government people, and that all my life I was told that we would never be free. Until the day the two of us are dead. So there's nothing to show that's. I would love to see what freedom is like. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I'm used to it. There's nothing I can really do about it. If I did actually feel really threatened, would I take action against it if they were to harm the lady of the house or one of my dogs? Yeah, I would act appropriately for that at that situation at that time. Because that's my primary goal in life is to protect the others in my home. Period.
Well, you're the head of the household. Right? That's what you are.
And I tell you something real quick.
The head of her household, and
everybody in this household has an opinion, right. and an equal opinion. Uh-huh. So I know. Right. I heard some of the heated discussions in the past, and I'm shocked.
You're talking about yesterday. You're talking about.
I had to keep the lady of the house away from the phone. Oh boy!
I was just going to mention that. I was literally listening to the podcast of that as I was cooking my dinner tonight, and I had some thoughts. Should I say my thoughts now, Vincent?
Absolutely, absolutely.
On what happened yesterday with Robert from Kansas. Okay. Now, I am a female head of household. Okay. The buck stops with me. There's no man here, but I think that if any man came in thinking that he could dominate and control me, he would have another thing coming. I would not agree to that, and I would not allow myself to be dominated. Now, I was married. I was happily married. I had a marvelous, wonderful marriage, okay, to an amazing guy, and that was my Archie. But guess what? We worked together as a team. He was not into dominating me, and I was not into dominating him. We worked together. We were like one person working in two bodies. So, and we had cell phones, and when we would go to the shopping mall, for example, to get groceries or whatever, we would say, okay, well, I've got to go and get this, this, and this, and you're going to go and get something else and something else that you need to work on for that project. So I'll meet you in the food court in an hour's time, all right? Yeah, all right, okay. Well, we would go our separate ways, and then we would meet up in the food court, after an hour or whatever, and we would have a coffee and we would talk about the things that had gone on, and then we would go home. That is God's intention for marriage, as far as I can tell. Not that the woman be dominated.
Guineith, what was...
if you read the scriptures closely, that's the curse. God cursed humanity in the Garden of Eden because Eve ate the fruit, okay? And Adam was not deceived. He ate the fruit because he couldn't stand the thought of an eternity without Eve. Is probably about the best preaching that I've ever heard on the Garden of Eden. But we've got to get away from this idea of, woman wanting to dominate men and men wanting to dominate women. When a man and a woman are in a marriage together, they have to work together and they have to be in agreement. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Well, that's what happens right here on the farm.
Yeah.
Mrs. Finelli has an equal vote, as our children have an equal vote, as I have an equal vote. However, I am the head of the household. I'm not a dictator. I want everyone's opinion, and logic will prevail. Logic will prevail every time. And if there is if there's an inability to make a decision, which never happens, but if there were, I would override and say, here's what we're going to do. Because rather than being in gridlock and doing nothing, we'll probably do something. Okay? And so I feel that as the man of the house, I feel that it's my job to lead. However, I don't do anything in a vacuum. And I wouldn't even consider buying a quart of paint for the house without Mrs. Finelli's input and agreement. So if we've always agreed, okay, and that helped, and that's by design. I've known her for a very long time, since 4th grade, and because of that, we have we grew up with similar socioeconomic values. We see things the same way, and there's hardly ever any disagreement, hardly ever. So because of that, we don't have a lot of problems, if any. And I absolutely value her opinion, and I would not say that, well, she's second-class citizen, because she's not. She's not. And it's half hers. It's half hers.
Yeah.
So in your case, Guineith, you there is not a man right now. And so you're in charge. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think you might have heard a visceral reaction to comments about women yesterday. Is that what you heard from me? I really didn't like what I was hearing.
No,
and I felt
I
I was being attacked. And I got to tell you, class, you may not know this about me, but I'm very protective of our instructors and of our students. And when we are attacked, I come out swinging, absolutely swinging. And I told Robert that if I understood him to say that I was evil and Rich Sheben was evil, he was done, that's it, period, gone, never to come back. I was livid. That's what you heard, right, Guineith?
That's right, yep.
Mm-hmm. And just to cinch that point, there was a guy who has a network. He still has a network. And we were on that network. This is not Republic Broadcasting. This is a different network. I don't even want to mention this guy's name. But he demanded that I attack Dr. Richard Allen Miller, and I said, absolutely not. Nope. I'm not doing it. I was very protective of Rick, and this was years ago. And this guy gave me a hard time, and I said, are you saying that the problem is Rick Miller? Is that what the problem is, because we're airing on your network? Is that you're taking this broadcast and rebroadcasting it? Is the problem Rick Miller? Is that what you're saying? Well, yeah. Okay. Take us off your network. That was it. That was it. That's how I resolved it. So I cut our potential class size down because I would not allow this guy to try to put me into a position where I would attack Dr. Richard Allen Miller. I would not do it. So I'm protective of our class. I'm protective of David. I'm protective of Guineith and all the other instructors. And let me give you just one other example since I'm doing this. So one day I decided to go to the National Association of Broadcasters convention. I was hoping to meet Art Bell when he was still alive. I didn't have an invitation. I didn't know if he was going to be there, but I wanted to see what it was like. I had a couple of years under my belt as a broadcaster, and I just wanted to see. So I went out to Las Vegas years ago, and I asked Captain John Reagan to sit in my seat with the regular Monday instructor. There's another guy who was a regular instructor on Mondays. I'm not even going to mention his name. He did financial reporting. And so I asked Captain John. He said, good. I asked the instructor. He said, good. I gave them each other's phone numbers and email addresses and said, you guys talk about what you're going to talk about ahead of time. I gave it to him several days ahead of time. And I'll tell you what happened when we come back from this break. And you'll see that some things to me are black and white, real easy to figure out. You might be surprised at what I'm going to tell you, but I don't have time to tell you before the break. And then we'll continue on with Guineith and David's thoughts. We'll be right back. Guineith's with us. David's with us. And so what happened was I was going to the National Broadcasters Convention, National Association of Broadcasters in Las Vegas, and I asked Captain John Reagan to fill in for me. Now, Captain John Reagan at that time, didn't have a lot of hours under his belt. He had been broadcasting with me, but sitting in my seat's a little different. And so I asked him to do that, and I asked our regular instructor to work with him, and they both agreed to do that. And so Captain John Reagan was prepared with some financial dialogue with another instructor, the regular Monday guy. And so I was listening in getting ready in the morning for the convention in Las Vegas, and I was listening to our broadcast. And it was going fine. We hit the bottom of the hour, first hour, 30 minutes under the belt, and the regular Monday instructor said, hey, I got to make some phone calls. I got to go by. See you. And left.
What?
Yep. He left. So Captain John Reagan was not prepared for that. And it was wrong for the regular Monday instructor to do that. And I was livid. How could somebody do that? Just leave. Well, that's what he did. And then I happened to see this. That was, by the way, that was the last time that instructor was on the air. That was it. Sometimes there's 3 strikes, sometimes there's 2 strikes, sometimes there's 1 strike. It was so egregious to me to leave Captain John Reagan in a lurch like that, totally unprepared for that. And Captain John Reagan kept the broadcast together. He didn't walk off and say, you know what? My guy was supposed to be here. He left, so I'm leaving. He didn't do that. And the term that I used was treaded water for an hour and a half, all by himself. I was furious. And that's the last time that instructor has ever been on the air. He's not coming back. Now, over the years, he's contacted me and said, hey, Vin, you don't want to advertise? I want to advertise on USA Prepares. No, I don't want anything to do with him. Because he walked away from a commitment. And that's the problem today. The problem is people take commitments lightly. They're cavalier with their commitments. Hey, listen, I'll show up to your place on Tuesday, okay? And I wait, and Tuesday, the guy doesn't show up, or the gal doesn't show up. How often do you think I'm going to wait on Tuesday or Wednesday or any other day for that person? Never. Okay? I was talking with Ron Allen. Ron Allen is the voice of USA Prepares. He's the intro guy, the introduction guy. and I invited him to be on the air. And we were talking about how people are cavalier with making appointments. So he has training sessions. He carves out hours of time for individual training classes, and people cancel. And I said, Ron, and this was just a couple days ago. And by the way, Ron's going to be on the air with us in a couple weeks on a Friday. And he said, I'm putting this in pen on my calendar. Because he's telling me that he's not making a cavalier appointment. And unless there's something that happens with his family or some unforeseen emergency, he's going to be there. And so am I. Well, the point is he had a client who cancels the appointment. Now, that's revenue lost. So I said, Ron, I have a New Year's resolution, the same one as last year, to increase my intolerance. One chance. Guy cancels once, no problem. We don't have to make any more appointments. We're done. Guineith, any comments?
I can really understand that because it comes down to the same thing. I think I would like to talk now just quickly about, this is kind of on the same topic, okay, not too distantly related. I went to a party on the weekend. I think I've told you about my party. Should I talk about my party?
Yeah, I just want to tell David he's welcome to stay with us if you'd like, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that David would like to hear this too because it's about the municipality. So, yeah, there was this lady at the party, and she works for the municipality. And we had a double-speak conversation. Hang on. Because I said, listen, you work for a corporation that extorts money out of people.
Yeah.
You know? And she said, no, we don't extort money out of it.
We'll be right back. Okay, Guineith Isaacs is with us. You can look her up on your favorite search engine. Hopefully that would be Start Page or DuckDuckGo, DuckDuckGo. And we're talking about she went to a party and she met a member of the extortion cartel who said, no, we're not part of the extortion. We don't have a gun to your head. No. Guineith, please continue.
Yeah, and so anyway, after about 20 minutes of this conversation where she claimed that, yes, they were a government, I said, but you've got an ABN and under Australian corporate law that makes you a corporation. No, we're not a corporation, but you charge, you charge taxes. She says, no, we don't. And I said, yes, you do. Property rates. Land rates. And she says, no, that's not a tax, it's a fee. And I said, what? No, I didn't agree to any contract. I don't owe you anything. I don't owe your whatever you want to call it, anything. And, and anyway, this went on for about, however long it went on for. And then I said, well, it's like this. You're a corporation and I don't consent to contract with you. And she said, that's your opinion. And I said, no, it's not. That's the law. And then do you know what she said? She said, well, Jesus says we have to pay our taxes. And then I said to myself, not to her, because at this point my jaw was sort of hanging open. And I said to myself, I thought you said they weren't taxes. That's what these people are like. They are our enemy. Okay? I don't think they've actually, in hindsight, I don't think they've actually ever been anything other than an enemy. Okay? But it's just now, lately, they've been uncloaking themselves. And, but the thing is, I would like to announce something today, Vincent. I would like to announce, okay, and I know that I'm not the only one in Australia doing this, but I'm going to announce it internationally. I'm going to announce a lawful Article 61 of the Magna Carta Rebellion in Australia on international radio. and I would like to name that lawful rebellion against an unjust, tyrannical government here in the state of Victoria and Australia-wide, and I would like to name it the Puppy Rebellion. And do you know why I'm calling it the Puppy Rebellion?
Actually, I think I do. I think it's because people unnamed are raising puppies, and the big corporation posing as government says you can't raise puppies without approval and paying fees for the privilege of raising puppies.
Yeah, you actually get into more trouble here in the state of Victoria for having a marijuana crop in your backyard. Sorry, you actually get into more trouble here in Victoria for raising puppies than you would if you had a little marijuana crop in the backyard. Can you believe that?
Of course I can.
The people in charge who think they're in charge have actually got to the point now where they have got more of a problem with somebody having a litter of puppies in their backyard and, you know, then advertising them, sending them on to Loving Homes or whatever, Free to Good Home, however they want to you know, send those puppies on. They have more of a problem with those people. They are full and likely to SWAT raid that property than if they had a few hemp plants growing among the tomatoes in their vegetable garden.
Let me comment on this for a second, then I'd love to hear David's opinion. So we live in the middle of nowhere, and the people have raised puppies here. But the GDP in Missouri said, well, you know, this is not right. You can't have a puppy facility. You've got to be licensed by, you know, the big corporation and taxed and so forth, and inspected and detected and rejected. So we have a neighbor who has this magnificent facility. And let's say it's the size of a 3-car garage. And let's say it looks like a brand new 3-car garage. It's got a concrete floor on the inside, and it has individual doggy doors so the dogs can go in and out at their pleasure. Swing doggy doors. It's nice and warm on the inside. If they want to play on the outside, there's a fenced-in area that's a chain link fence where each one can go out at will. They can eat at the appropriate time. They get water. They're out of the sun, and it's not on dirt. Okay, it's a very expensive facility, probably $40,000 to raise puppies, right? Well, the government in Missouri has decided that it's their duty to inspect these things, and it's such a pain in the neck with these inspectors and rejectors that one family gave up, another family gave up, another family gave up, running a bona fide, top-of-the-line, purebred puppy-raising business because of these government oppressors. And they think that it's their duty to give you a rough time. Judy and John Dollarhite, I know them. They raise rabbits. And the U.S. came after them and fined them $1 million and couldn't explain exactly why they did whatever it allegedly was done wrong. Well, there's some rust on this rabbit cage. Well, no kidding. If the rabbits pee on a galvanized wire cage, it's going to rust. But the rust, it wasn't like it was dangerous. It wasn't rusted through. Just one small patch. Well, $1 million later, that's what happened. Going down the multi-million-dollar rabbit hole is the name of Judy Dollarhite's book. So these guys are in our face. They want whatever we have, and they think it is their duty to give us a hard time. And when it turns into The Walking Dead, I hope these people have a nice time. I hope they do, because when it's open season, I don't think people are going to forget that their family farm was sold on the courthouse steps because of some jerk who feels real important with one of these government corporation jobs. They're not productive. They're in the way of productivity. David, your thoughts?
They'll find they want to try to find any way they can to take, and they can get away with it, for the most part. And
David, you have experience with Leo. Have you heard or seen firsthand from a member of Leo, which could be your father when he was alive, or some of his peers, planting evidence? Is that something that actually happens, or is that a myth?
Oh, that absolutely happens. Absolutely happens. Matter of fact, they made it a point to show how they can create any issue, pin anything on anybody, just to try to keep me under control. And I was only a little kid when they started showing me that. Anything they can do, they would do it right in front of me.
Let me explain to the audience. The audience is probably trying to figure out why they would show you to prevent you from talking. The plan was that if David saw these things and he were brought to the stand to talk about them, they were so pervasive and so egregious and so illegal that the police, the judge, the prosecutor, who are all on the same side, would not allow David to be on the stand, because somebody could say, well, David, is there such thing as corruption? David, do the cops plant evidence? Have you ever seen it, David? So to prevent him from talking, they showed him. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. And we're not just talking local police. We're talking about all the way up in the federal level.
Guineith?
So.
Well, I'll tell you what, Vincent. I actually have a litter of puppies here at the moment, okay? My little lady who gave birth, she's a Jack Russell Kelpie cross, and the sire is a Jack Russell Border Collie cross, okay? So they're mixed breed puppies. And she's made her puppy nest behind the sofa. And that's how we raise puppies here. And during, today, for the first time, we had puppies all over the living room while I was, doing my research and all of that on the internet. And they're so cute. How could anybody have a problem with these guys? But they came out from behind the sofa. She had made her nest, behind the sofa. By the way, if there's anyone here listening in Victoria or New South Wales or South Australia who would really love a, really good, smart, intelligent, well-bred, smallish, alert little watchdog, they can feel free to email me at USA Prepares, and I'll be able to help them. Okay? Because we have puppies here at the moment, and I dare the dog ranger, I dare the municipality to come around here and make an issue about it. I dare the RSPCA to come around here and make an issue out of it, because guess what? If they do, they're going to be famous. Is that agreed, Vincent?
Absolutely. And by the way, is the Queen approved this?
I don't know, but I know that her dogs have probably had puppies behind the sofa in the past. Gosh, she has enough of them, and I wonder if the dog ranger comes and gives her a bad time.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking you if you think the Queen has approved the puppy battalion and their tactics and their invasion.
I don't think she would, because actually she would be as subject to that law as anybody. And she likes breeding dogs too. Her dogs are a bit more highly bred and fancy than my dogs. But my dogs are healthy, and, they love me. They're mostly free range, and, But I dare the dog ranger, the SPCA or whoever to come around here and make an issue about me having a litter of puppies behind the sofa, because we'll make them famous.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if the Queen wants to come on the air and talk about this, we'll be just I'll tell you what, I'll give her the number right now. We'll call her, but if she wants to contact us, 866-582-9933, or she can go to Genesis Communications Network's website, which is GCNlive.com, and you'll see the international number. I'm sure that her phone will reach all the way to the United States, and she can call us, and we'll put her on the air. Yep.
Yep.
Be glad to.
I bet you've never had a broadcast like this before, Vincent.
Where we're inviting the Queen to join? No, that's the first one.
Puppies behind the sofa.
Well, no, well, okay. But yeah, we've had puppies behind the sofa here at our house. David, your thoughts when we come back? Plus, if you'd like to find Guineith Isaacs, you can go to, just go to your search engine, Guineith Isaacs, Guineith Isaacs. And if you're interested in buying her book, it's on Amazon.com. And David, your thoughts? Did you have any comments about these puppies and the invasion of people who are usurping authority and coming over to our homes to tell us what we can and can't do in our own lives?
Yes, I have a couple. Yeah, I have a couple. I can comment on both. Really quick, we had when we first moved to Southern Illinois, they had situations called occupancy permits. You may have heard of them. I never did at the time. I was kind of shocked. We did that. Now, before we left the place, the lady at the courthouse, you're going to need a parking sticker. We don't drive anymore. We don't have a vehicle. We don't drive anymore. But they're on sale. I'm like, what? But they're on sale. Did you hear what I just said? We don't have a car. We don't drive anymore. And if you buy, they're on sale. And if you buy two, the second one's half price. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Do you understand? I might as well take my money outside and burn it. And the lady's like, why would you do that? That's actually technically illegal. I'm like, lady, do you understand? I do not have a car. We don't drive anymore. But you don't understand. They're on sale. Now, this has got to be the dumbest conversation. She couldn't understand why. It was worthless for me to buy these stupid car stickers, right? It was all about money. They just keep pushing it. They don't care. Find a way to get it. But now I have an observation about all these farms. Now, you can tell me if these puppy places in the United States or farms, they don't seem to mess with the people they need to, that don't care, they don't treat them well. They're locked up in cages with grass or brush going through them. They will go harass the people they know they have the resources, they know they have the money, they know they take care of them, because that's what they're looking for. And just like farms like you, they will attack you, but they won't care about the farmer who just doesn't care about feeding his cattle, his herd of horses, taking care of them, or nothing. There's not much resources for them to get there. They want the bulk. I mean, do you think I'm wrong with that opinion?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. And I think here's an approach. So one of these helpers from the corporation shows up at your house and says, "I need to take a look around." Oh, I really appreciate you being here. Before we get started, how do you spell your first name and your last name? And what did you say your phone number is? At home and at the office? And where did you say you lived? Because you're at my house and you know where I live. Before I can help you, where did you say you lived? Okay. So I've got your name, the government corporation division that you are paid by. And I need your business card. Thank you very much. And I've got your home phone number, your work phone number, and your home address. And it says on the business card your office address. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you want to come here, you're going to need to make an appointment. So, and I don't know if I'm going to let you come back, but you can let me know why you want to come here, and maybe I'll let you come back. Probably not, though. So you're going to have to leave now. That's how I would handle that. Of course, unless you have a search warrant. I
would be a bit more direct.
Oh, I thought that was pretty direct.
My freaking land.
Well, no. First I want to know who. First, I want to know who it is. Then I invite them to leave.
Yeah.
Then I invite them to leave.
That's probably a good idea. Then you can sue them.
Now
I don't
have dogs.
You can sue them.
Yes. Yeah, we have dogs. Yes.
And you know something? Every one of these people, the dog ranger and all the rest of them, They're absolutely terrified of being sued.
Mm-hmm. Individually.
They're absolutely terrified of it.
Yes,
They're
David.
perhaps even more frightened of that than the guy coming down their driveway of their own personal house with a firearm. They're more terrified of somebody suing them than somebody physically attacking them, in my humble opinion. That's just from what I've seen.
I agree with that.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. David asked if we have dogs. Yes, we do. We have all colors and sizes, and I like the big ones. With the large jaws.
Yeah.
The ones that could tackle a person. I like German Shepherds. We've had a Neapolitan Mastiff. Neapolitan Mastiffs those are the dogs that guarded the combatants in the Roman Colosseum. It kept them, ready to fight, so they couldn't get out before the fight. That's the kind of dog they are. We have an English Mastiff, Thomas Jefferson. He's alert, and I tell them, when people come, they say, "Does that dog bite?" Well, he hasn't bitten anyone all day.
Treat them like family. You never have to ask them to protect you. They'll do it automatically.
That's exactly right. And our dogs are family. And when I leave the farm, I tell the dogs, "All right, guys, you're in charge. TJ, you're in charge. And you have my authorization to eat anyone who trespasses on the property. You're authorized." David, thank you so much for being with us. I love it when you call. Guineith, I love broadcasting with you as well. Thank you for taking your time, both of you.
God bless.